wrong position?
Well, first of all, Britain has been the foundation of NATO as the key ally and representative at many times of the United States of America. How dare this president presume to think he knows what's best for the United Kingdom and Britain? I think that's a bunch of hogwash, to use a colloquial term. And I'm glad to get the opportunity to talk to you, Andre. My son, that's an enlisted airman in the Air Force, is stationed at RAF Lakenheath, and I was stationed at RAF Troughton in my younger days, and my oldest son.
I know both of them well. I know them well.
Yes, and I have fond memories of living and working alongside the English people and fighting alongside them too. And how dare a president of the United States publicly warn our closest ally in the European theater, and the one that's been beside us forever and ever ago since we warred with each other, because we have a special link. And I think it's preposterous that he did it. I think he owes an apology, and I think Britain should decide whether they stay as a sovereign nation as part of the European Union or go about their way, because it's your decision to do that. And it hurts NATO from the perspective of, without a Britain, without a UK in NATO, with just a European Union, NATO is not worth the paper it's written on.
Isn't part of the problem here that Barack Obama doesn't value those traditional alliances? And it would be interesting for you to look, this is kind of an easy question, I suppose, for any Republican. But, what does a Republican need to do when they go to Congress or go to the Senate or even go to the White House? What do they need to do in terms of, changing that narrative back from apologizing to the terrorists to America as a beacon of freedom?
Well, first of all, America is an exceptional nation. And that would be a great question. What does American need to do as he or she goes to the Senate or the White House or to Congress to serve to reverse this trend? Number one, we have to be strong. We have to be strong not only militarily, and we are strong militarily, but we've weakened ourselves internally inside our military, and we need to fix that. But we've got to be strong as leaders in the world, like we're supposed to be. You can only lead from strength, so you have to be strong economically. You have to be strong from your informational perspective, and from a diplomatic perspective. You have to be respected by your enemies, and you have to be trusted by your allies. And neither of those things is happening. The president and his amateur administration and John Kerry and Hillary Clinton have weakened us to the point where we're no longer leading, and we're purposefully no longer leading. And that's why we have some of the ridiculous outcomes that are occurring, like the problem with Vladimir Putin over in Russia, taking Crimea, the problem that he continues to create in the Ukraine with overt acts of aggression now against U.S. and NATO forces out in international waters just because they're doing an exercise. I mean, that's the ridiculous outcomes that we get when we're weak and we're not leading, and we don't have the political will to change that. So Americans need to go to places like the Senate. And I am a Republican, a lifelong Republican, but I think of myself as an American first when I think about being a United States Senator, because the Senate seats are uniquely designed to be a check and a policy-setting body for foreign policy, for international security, on Supreme Court justices and those kinds of things. But it has a huge role in our foreign policy and international security, not only internally but externally, as you know. And a Senate that was populated by 100 senators that fully understood what their roles are as Americans would never have let Barack Obama and his so-called team put together this Iran deal that was rammed through, not as a treaty, but as some executive agreement. They would never have allowed that because it was
Can I just say to you that I know Gene wants to ask a question, but I will say to you from the UK perspective, the Iran deal was one of the craziest things that the Obama administration has done. There's many crazy things it's done. And I just think that, anybody listening to this broadcast really needs to think to themselves, do they really want the people who shout death to America, and the people who want to run Israel into the sea to acquire a nuclear weapon. They need to think about that, but they also need to think about who were the people who organized this whole thing. One of them hopes to succeed Barack Obama as president. That should never happen. American, Republican, Democrat, whatever it is, your security is our security. Sorry, Gene, over to you.
Oh, it's no problem. This is the easiest interview I've ever had to do. This is fantastic. I'll just sit back and relax. This is great. Listen, Colonel Maness, I just have one last question for you, and then we're going to introduce the world to all your social media and all the opportunities to support you. I just want to come back home real quick and get to know the constituents in Louisiana a little bit. I'm up here in the People's Republic of New York City. All I know is Hurricane Katrina and the Superdome, and the Saints are a decent football team. So explain to me the character of the people that you want to represent, and explain to America how they are and why you want to be there for them.
Well, first of all, you have to understand that Louisiana is unique in the United States in that it has multiple cultures going back hundreds of years. It started out as not as part of the United States or even part of the colonies, but under different flags, different nations as it matured in life. And what that has brought to us as a state in the United States of America is all these mixture of cultures, from Cajun to French to Newfoundland. It's amazing the different cultures that we have here in the state, but they all have a common thread. They're common sense, hardworking, lovers of life. They love what they do. Many of them, most of them work in the oil and gas industry, but we have a huge tourist industry too, and agricultural communities. And the new renewable energy sector is coming to life here in the state, and we even have coal industry here, as long as the president is prevented from killing it. So we have all of these folks that really love life. They love their state. They love their country, and they want their state to have a unique role in leading the nation to things like energy independence and being a positive influence in the world. And they understand that Barack Obama has really harmed our nation. And it doesn't matter whether they're Democrats, independents, Republicans, libertarians. I've been in every parish, all 64 parishes in this state, multiple times. I did a truck tour, a Ford pickup truck tour, my first race that I ran for the Senate seat 2 years ago, and we put 85,000 miles on the vehicle, and we met hundreds of thousands of folks, and they all have the same mindset that we need to use common sense to get the job done and make sure we're protecting the United States of America, and they're in Louisiana, and that Louisiana as a state has a right to determine certain things, like what it sees as marriage, like who can keep and bear arms, like who can vote if they have a criminal record, and those kinds of issues. And number one, that we have a bolstered economy that's growing in a regulatory environment that's not crushing businesses, but encouraging them to flourish and be created and jobs created and to be successful and be profitable, so everybody has equality of opportunity. That's what Republicans stand for. So it doesn't matter whether they have what letters behind their name. That's what Louisianans believe in, and that's who they're looking to lead them from the federal perspective in the U.S. Senate, and to protect them and their families so that they can feel safe and secure in their homes.
Wow, that's all I have to say to that. That was an amazing rundown of really what it means to be a conservative in America today, and absolutely fantastic stuff. Colonel, you're somebody that everybody should get behind, and we here at the show know that money and people is what make campaigns go. So we want to try to get you as much support on both sides as we can. Tell everybody how they can get a hold of you on social media as well as to donate to your campaign.
Okay, you can go to our website, robmaness.com. That's ROBMANESS.com, robmaness.com. You can sign up for our newsletter, and most importantly, you can donate there. And we do need your donations. Even if it's only $5, you can donate $5. we need everybody in the country to help us because we're not connected to the political elite or the elite in the corporate world or any other elite other than the American citizen, who's the hardest working man and woman in the history of the world, that's lifted more people out of poverty and into prosperity than any other concept, the American citizen. So we need everybody to get on board and help us with that. And then you can find us on Twitter at Rob Maness. That's at symbol ROBMANESS. And Colonel Rob Maness, RET, on Facebook. Go and like us on our Facebook page. We just went over 6,000 followers on Twitter, and those aren't paid for. They're real, no kidding followers, and 210,000 followers on our Facebook page. So we have a huge social media presence, and we could really use everybody's help there to keep generating the buzz and help us get the word out.
Absolutely. You see, you got to correct these Northerners, these Yankees like me that don't know how to pronounce your last name. Rob Maness, thanks for coming on the show. We'll definitely be checking you out down the road in 2016, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it, and nice talking to you, Andre, and nice talking to you, the folks over in the UK.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rob Maness. Folks, we're going to take a quick break here, but when we come back, we'll be talking to Sam Sorbo about her new book, and we're going to keep this truck going. We may go a little overtime on the live show, but don't you worry about it if you're listening on tape. You'll be just fine. Gene Baradelli and Andre Walker behind enemy lines will be back right after this brief word. There's a movement in healthcare today. It's a movement of people that's ready to stand up and take charge of their healthcare. It's people like you and me, who are tired of paying too much for healthcare and getting too little. People who are standing up for their values and letting their conscience make decisions based on timeless principles. It's a movement that's sweeping the nation, and you need to be a part of it. Liberty HealthShare is leading the movement of people who are looking for an alternative to traditional health insurance. Liberty HealthShare is a healthcare sharing organization of people who are sharing the cost of healthcare in an easy and efficient way. Choose your own doctor, your own hospital, and live out your values in healthcare. Join the movement. Together, we're changing healthcare for good. Go to www.joinlhs.com or call 800-722-8041. Behind Enemy Lines. Back on the air. Gene Baradelli behind enemy lines, and on the line with me right now, it is a pleasure to welcome to the show. Well, maybe not a pleasure because she's kind of the competition. Syndicated radio show host, author, mother of 3 beautiful children, Sam Sorbo. Sam, how are you?
Really? Are you also the mother of 3 beautiful children?
No, I'm saying you are. Stop it.
You said I was
How are you?
I'm just trying to identify how. No,
well, I'm not an author. I'm on a station and a half, maybe, and no kids. So
no kids.
So,
okay.
So well, yeah, unfortunately, not there yet. But a beautiful nephew who you may hear in the background doing his ABCs in the back.
Awesome. Now, does he go to public school?
Yes, he does. He goes to the same public school I went to, PS 52 here in Brooklyn, New York.
Wow. Okay. All right.
And
well,
so far,
things have changed since you went to school.
Oh my goodness, have they ever? I used to have, when I went to high school, metal detectors, security pat-downs, all that fun stuff. All the stuff that parents can avoid if they follow your advice in your book, They're Your Kids. Tell everybody about your experiences with homeschooling.
So They're Your Kids is an inspirational, I hope, journey from self-doubter to homeschool advocate. I used to laugh at homeschooling. It just didn't seem realistic to me. But the more convinced I became that the schools were failing my children, the more I realized I was going to have to do it myself. And it's almost a circular thing, because the more you do for yourself, the more capable you realize you are, that you never really understood before. And I've realized now that our schools are training us to think that we are inadequate. And so I get a lot of pushback from people that I talk to. I go, have you considered homeschooling? They're, oh, no, I could never do that. And I have to ask them, okay, so you're saying that you're inadequate to teach a 3rd grader or a 4th grader, but you graduated from the public school system that made you that inadequate, and you're okay with sending your child there, And you know that it's worse now than it was when you attended school, because everybody agrees the schools are worse, right? They haven't improved.
I think that's fair to say, especially when you talk about the public school system, and they're trying here in the People's Republic of New York City to